It's a very, very unfortunate thing to say, but you, as a litigating lawyer, going to courts and fighting cases for your clients with the utmost sincerity, believing that you are putting in the best possible effort for your client, you need to assume that your client is lying to you. You will often see that when you take up matters independently, when you are doing client counseling, it is an art in itself, because if you are not able to cull out from the client every single thing that has transpired, which goes in the favor as well as against the client, you will be at a loss for words. You will face the difficulty when you appear before that court of law. Ever so often, I have clients who come to me and who tell me a story. And then when I pick out the inconsistencies in their stories, and mind you, not because I'm a very smart guy, but because I have faced these lies of these clients and suffered the consequences at the appropriate stage when I face the embarrassment before the judge and I'm not able to come up with an answer. And of course, the client at that point of time also suffers. Because I have failed so many times, I am able to, on a lot of occasions, I'm still not perfect yet, I am able to pick out the lies of the client. I am able to confront the client with those lies, and I am able to rectify the situation. Because of course, we can work with distorted facts, but there are some things that we can get out of, which we as lawyers understand, and some things as lawyers that we cannot get out of at all. And I'm making this video because very, very recently, I faced another situation like this, except for the fact that I placed the responsibility of collecting all the facts from the client on an associate of mine. This associate believed exactly what the client said and put it in the pleadings that we had to submit before the court. And just when we were about to submit it to the court, when I was looking at the final draft, when I was applying my mind to the final draft, I saw a particular inconsistency, and this is something which I cannot even talk about because it might prejudice the case of my client. But assume that the blunder is very, very clear as day, something that the client would not be able to hide no matter what, and it would have come out in the next couple of months, in the next couple of hearings. And when I saw this blunder, I called up the client and I asked him straight up, and the client gave me the truth within 30 seconds. And the reasoning that he gave for giving this lie to his own lawyer is that he thought that if the opposite party finds out about this particular truth of his, he will be put to a lot of trouble. I did not go to the extent of explaining to the client in great detail how much more difficulty he would have suffered when he would have given a wrong fact and a completely wrong fact, deliberately lying to the court. He would have definitely opened himself wide to a charge of perjury, and there would have been a very, very good chance that he would have been convicted for the said offense of perjury, because whatever you are giving in the court, you are supporting it with an affidavit, a sworn affidavit. And if it is found out upon an inquiry at a later stage that whatever you gave to the court was manifestly, completely a lie, you will be held guilty for perjury and you can even go to jail. I did not explain all of these things to the client because the client does not need to know, except of course one line that you could go to jail for doing this. I then called up the associate and asked, and the associate just said that, this is what the client told me and this is what I put in. And I explained to the associate that the inconsistency that the client had given was something that was actually caught on by the associate as well. I'm sorry, I'm keeping it a little vague. I don't know if I put out the actual fact, it might be a problem for the client. And this is of course something that, we as lawyers face on a very regular basis. Some incredible stories that we could have shared, we cannot share because of client confidentiality involved. The fact of the matter is my associate was able to gauge that inconsistency as well, but he did not put two thoughts about it more. And that's the reason why when I stepped in, and thank God I stepped in, we were able to save this client from a very, very certain jail term because of perjury. And so the lesson that we cull out from this is, that even if the client is good, right, and they are not having any ill intention, they will on a lot of occasions lie to you because they do not understand how the legal system works. You understand how the legal system works as a lawyer, but what you need to understand is that if you do not go the extra step and pull out of the client the actual truth and then put it in the way that is acceptable to the court, that is acceptable as a submission, and even if on some occasions, which I don't advise, but if facts are to be distorted, you do it in a way that does not prejudice your client. And of course, this is not something that is an exact science. As I said in the beginning of this video, this is an art. This is something that you will have to work on. This is something that you will have to keep in the back of your mind whenever you are discussing, especially at the initial stages, things with your client, because on a lot of occasions I believe it is also a matter of trust, not trust and belief in whether your lawyer will be loyal to you or not, but in the capability of the lawyer. And the client tries to take on the responsibility of distorting the facts by himself or herself, and that is a grave mistake because they don't have the legal training. They have not seen the hundreds and thousands of court hearings in your own matter as well as other people's matters when you are observing court proceedings about how and where things can go wrong. So be very, very careful. The client does it inadvertently, and it is not your responsibility, but for the benefit of your client, for the success of your client, this is something that you must do. You must cull out the facts properly, truthfully from the client before you proceed to do anything for the client. And I would say, as a general rule, assume that your client could be lying to you.